Uh-huh.
So you see that women often approach challenges and opportunities differently in unique ways, which
Yeah.
leads to creative solutions and therefore, I think, more sustainable business models. And yeah, supporting female founders, of course, it advances the gender equality, but it also makes sure that some potential, especially in tech, gets unlocked.
So I think in my position, it doesn't really matter that I do not have the technical background. And I also think it can be an advantage. I work closely together with my colleagues who have this technical background, and we make each other stronger.
Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk-Jan Hupkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for tuning in to episode 102. This episode is special because, for the first time, we're joined by two incredible role models from a government institution. Merel Zimmerman and Bibi van Gijzel both work at the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, in Dutch also known as RVO. They're two women playing a key role in how early stage startup capital gets distributed, and they're not just working behind the scenes, they're out there making themselves visible. In this episode of Women Disrupting Tech, we discover how RVO funds inclusive innovation. Bibi and Merel talk about the power of visibility, what role diversity plays in government funding, and why being non-technical is not a limitation, but a strength. Plus, you'll hear how ambition, impact, and being a role model can absolutely live inside government work. So, when you're ready to listen and learn how RVO funds inclusive innovation, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Bibi van Gijzel and Merel Zimmerman. Bibi van Gijzel, Merel Zimmerman, welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. Good to have you. You're the first people from a government institution to join. So really honored to have you. Question I always ask at the start is how you got into your current job or current position, and Merel.
Yes, sure. So currently I'm working at the RVO, so the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, as an advisor,
Mm-hmm.
primarily for the seed capital and seed business angel scheme for about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
I started my career, in economics and auditing. So I studied at the Erasmus University, and throughout my career I had various jobs, various financial roles, including auditing, M&A, and working as an investment analyst at a family office.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed these roles, but I really felt like I was missing the opportunity to make a real impact. So when I came across my current position, I was very enthusiastic immediately. So decided to apply. So far, I've been really enjoying it, helping VC funds secure funding and in their turn supporting the Dutch startup ecosystem. As an advisor, so I review VC fund investments in startups. I assist them also with questions related to the scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And I also guide funds through the tender process. So when they first start applying for the scheme,
Mm-hmm.
by providing support and feedback. So yeah, so far it's been really rewarding role where I can leverage my financial expertise to contribute to the growth of these innovative startups in the Netherlands.
Okay, cool. Bibi, how about you?
So now, nice to meet you, Dirk Jan, and great to be on the podcast, and hopefully good impression of the government we can make. So I have a background in law. I studied corporate law in Amsterdam and started my career being a lawyer, which I did for 4.5 years, and I really enjoyed that. Met a lot of interesting people, worked really hard, of course, as you do when you are in law. But I think my story is quite of the same as Merel's story. I missed making a concrete impact, and I also have this entrepreneurial drive myself. So I started to look around, how can I use my expertise being finance and law, because I was a banking and finance lawyer, and
Mm-hmm.
make a bit more impact than I did already. And that's when I came across a role at the RVO, which is being an advisor for the innovation credit, which is a loan for companies that have a project and they need financing for their project with technical risk. So they get a loan and then they can make this product which is good for the Netherlands or worldwide. And I saw the application. I was like, oh, this is something for me. And I applied and it's really nice. So I've been working there for 1.5 years now and enjoying it as well.
Okay, so one of the things that struck me in your answers is that neither of you has a really specifically technical background. How does it help you, or maybe not help you?
Yeah, so I think if in my position, it doesn't really matter that I do not have that technical background. And I also think it can be an advantage. I work closely together with my colleagues who have this technical background, and we make each other stronger, to say. So when we get an application for the innovation credit, we assess it together. A colleague of mine with a technical background and myself with a financial law background, and we assess it together. I learn from him or her, and they learn from me. And I think it's actually strengthening our position. And also, I really want to say, for me as a non-technical person, I
Uh-huh.
can also become a role model for other women in tech. And I think that's also an important position for us, to get to. So I think it's a strength as well.
Okay, cool. Merel.
Yeah, I think in my current role, we do not assess the technical aspects of a company,
Mm-hmm.
but rather whether the technical components comply with regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So we do encounter many technical elements, but yeah, so far I've been really able to navigate them well because I think it's really important to grasp things quickly without diving too deep too soon. And I think my previous work has really helped me get experience in that case. And I think what really helps is that I really, genuinely really enjoy learning about the companies and their technical components. So that makes it, much easier and a lot of fun.
Merel, why do you think entrepreneurship, especially for women, is important?
Yeah, I find like also what I notice during my job is that female entrepreneurship is very essential because you can see that it brings a lot of fresh and diverse perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So also drives innovation and leads to a like more effective but also different way of problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that women often approach challenges and opportunities differently in unique ways, which
Yeah.
leads to creative solutions and therefore I think more sustainable business models. And supporting female founders, of course, it advances the gender equality, but it also makes sure that some potential, especially in tech, gets unlocked. So I've seen a lot in research also is that diverse leadership outperforms other teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it really helps the companies and deliver better financial results and building a stronger, more innovative companies. So
Okay.
I think by empowering the women entrepreneurs, we get like a more inclusive and dynamic business ecosystem. So that's definitely very positive.
Okay. And do you
Yeah.
also, let's say, put emphasis on this when you validate the investment proposals that you get? So the seed capital
You
request?
mean when the funds apply?
Yeah.
Or okay, we definitely take that into account. I think in multiple fronts, but like when the funds apply, we have different criterions but also the advisory commission takes a look at.
Mm-hmm.
And these include, for example, gender balance among investors, but also the diversity within the fund management itself, or how a fund approaches diversity at the portfolio level. So, we really take that into account at the first application process. So, I think then it's the most important part. And for example, I write analysis
Mm-hmm.
about the application, and then I really have a look at those, criterions, and we really take that into account. So, I think, that's very important for us. And also, like we have a lot of funds, of course, but we also have various funds that really address the female funding gap. Yeah, for example, Borsky Fund, which is
Mm-hmm.
a women-led venture capital fund.
Yeah,
They
that's the probably the best known one.
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. But that's a seed. So the
Huh?
other two that I have in mind are like the business angel funds, but this is like the big fund. And yeah, like I said, it's a women-led fund and they focus on tech and innovation. But they really believe that investing in female entrepreneurships, that it aims to bridge the gender gap in the venture capital scene and also promote innovation led by women. Then I think we have two a little bit less known ones. That's Earthstar. It's a business angel fund, which is quite new. They just started, and they are led by two female founders, two female investors, which with a focus on impact investment in food tech and climate tech. And they are also committed to bridging the diversity gap by actively seeking out on founding diverse founding teams, particularly led by women. Another fund is the GOV Capital, which is also a business angel fund, which is really focused on diversity and promoting diversity and ensuring that more women are in the decision-making positions, which they believe also that it can lead to better strategy development and more successful execution. It's an early stage tech companies that they invest in. But yeah, I think that's are just a few examples, but we
Huh.
have a lot of funds that are really like, led by women, but also investing in
In
startups.
female-led
Yeah.
startups. Okay. So, Bibi, you mentioned the importance of role models,
Yeah.
and you said that in some way, shape, or form, you're also trying to be a role model for women in tech.
Yeah, well, what I was trying to say is if you see more women in tech, you get more approachable. So I think as an investment manager, you want to be seen more on LinkedIn, on social media, on the internet, or just word by word, because you want to improve female entrepreneurship. But you also need investment managers for that. So that's what I wanted to say. So I think there's a role for the RVO, and that's what we're also trying to do to get more visibility, for example, from Merel and myself, to make sure that these female entrepreneurs see us and think, oh, they are approachable. Let's have a chat to see what the options are, because we are maybe at the beginning of their financing journey and we
Yeah,
want to help with that.
yeah. So do you see that also back in the applications? Like that you see if you become more visible, you attract more, let's say, female investors or female founders in tech because now all of a sudden they have a person to talk to who's like them.
I think we're still at the start of the journey, so I don't think we can see it immediately right now. But I
Hmm.
think that's our aim. We want to make sure that we are visible, and I think for the innovation credit, it's difficult because we see in our portfolio there are a lot of male-led companies right now, and we don't know exactly why. Yeah, I think it's a difficult story why that is,
Hmm.
but we want to change something, and visibility from our side helps. So I think that's what we want to achieve.
Okay, no, but I think it's good, and to your point, I think it is. It will actually over time help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's enough to sort of equalize the balance between male and female founders, but in tech. But anyway, it does work well. I think it will work out over time. So a question I had was so RVO is a government agency. It's part of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. How does it fit into the funding landscape? Because there are several government or government related agencies or entities like the regional development companies like InvestNL on a countrywide level, and
Mhm.
there's a couple of others. Um, how does RVO fit into that?
I think we all have a common goal, which is drive innovation within the Netherlands. So that's great. I think where we may be different, or uh, where we may be different, is we provide knowledge, finance, guidance for the really early stage. And I
Okay.
think there's a difference. For example, with the ROMs, they are also early stage, but they focus more on the regions. And for
Hmm.
example, InvestNL focus more on scale ups, and we are more at the forefront with all these diverse finance options. So we have a lot of different ways to help companies,
Okay.
startups.
So basically, if I word this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, companies will go to you first at the start of the lifetime, and then over time either go to ROM or straight to invest in L if they manage to reach the scale up phase where they really want to go international, etc.
Yeah, and I think it also depends. Sometimes you see that we coexist together with the ROMs in
Hmm.
financing because they have a more regional focus and we focus more on the Netherlands as a whole. But usually we are at the forefront and at the start of a company's financing journey or startup journey because we also provide guidance, of course.
Okay, so I want to dig into the innovation credit for a bit. BB, maybe really shortly. So an innovation credit is a loan.
So it's project finance. So it's a loan which is provided by the RVO
Mhm.
for a project. So I think I already mentioned in the beginning. So if you have this innovation which has technical difficulties or clinical difficulties, because we are there for medtech, for deep tech, and you name it, as long
Mhm.
as there is a high technological risk. So I think that's different than for investors. We want to see, okay, if there is a risk, a technical risk, and that happens or that occurs,
Mhm.
then the project fails and your innovation may not happen. That's where we step in because we see the importance for the Netherlands for such innovation. Of course, there needs to be a technical feasibility, so we test that at the start. But we are there for the innovative projects.
Okay. How do you test the feasibility? What do you look for? And how do you balance that with really making it accessible?
Yeah, so I think that's indeed difficult, but we have all these different experts with the RVO. So I have I'm a finance expert, but my colleague has studied or has a PhD in tech, deep tech, or bio. So we have all these different types of experts with us, so they know what is new in the industry. So we go to these companies, they explain us, they show us, they take us along what the market wants, and we really dive into the project, the business. So we really assess what is new in that company and whether it's innovative. So we make that assessment among ourselves and then we decide whether it fits within the innovation credit.
Okay. And does it need to be new, like never done before? Because those usually have a high technological risk because no one has done it before, like going to Mars. That would
Yeah,
be the obvious one. Or can it be, let's say, an existing idea that is twisted a bit in a positive way
yeah,
to make it fit a certain situation? So, like a health solution that was specifically designed for men and now is also made available for women.
Yeah, so it doesn't need to be new, as long as you say, it is for a new market or the application is new. So we don't really focus on being it new, as long as there are technical risks and there are customers that really want to buy it. So we need to make sure that the market traction is there. So that's a really important component for us as well.
Okay, so how do I show that there's market demand if I'm creating a product that is,
Yes.
let's take the example of a product that is sort of where the application is new. So the product may exist in some way, shape, or form, but it's new application. How do I show that there's demand for it other than going back to the old way of using it, which is obviously not where the risk is?
Yeah, so when you show that in the development of the product there is technical risk, you want to for the development of the product, you need to test, okay, what does it needs to be A, B, C before I can sell it? So what we expect from companies is that they reach out and do their market research, but also talk to potential customers. So if my product does A, B, and C, will you then buy it? And if then someone says, yeah, yes, I will buy it, then that is okay for us. So what we usually see is that potential companies that apply for the innovation credit, they share with us letters of intent from potential customers showing the market demand.
Okay, and that equates to some sort of value that they can produce over time.
Exactly.
Is it also because usually if I go to a bank, what they assess is my capabilities of paying back the loan. How do you look at that at RVO?
Yeah,
Is that the same?
of course it's different because we are here to drive innovation, and it's a revolving loan. So we want, in the end, we do really want to see the loan being repaid, but of course things can change, and we are okay with that. We are willing to take a certain risk if in the end we can make the Netherlands a better place. So we do assess it, and that's why the market demand is so important.
Mhm.
And to see, okay, so if this product is developed in the way that you say it and these technical risks are overcome, then you have a sellable product. The feeling with that also translates for us in the possibility of a repayment. So that's why we really focus on that aspect as well. But it's not the same as a bank, of course, because
No.
they really need to have it repaid, and we want to drive innovation.
Yeah, so the goal is different.
Yeah, the goal is
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what kind of information do I need? So I need letters of intent from possible customers. I need to have done some sort of market analysis that shows
Yeah.
that there's demand for my product. What else do I need to is it a big
Yes.
pile of paper that I have to submit?
Yeah, so it's quite extensive, but it is very helpful also for the company themselves. That's what we hear always. So what you need to submit for your application is a financial plan, a business plan, and a project plan. In your financial plan, you describe the budget, how much it's going to cost, how much co-financing you need to arrange, because we usually finance 45% of the whole project. In the business plan, we want to see a description of the team, because we also assess the team whether they have experience in this field. Is it a diverse team? So we want to make sure that the company is, and the business plan and the business case, how much it's going to cost, is really explained well in there. And then in the project plan, we want to see, okay, what do you have now and what do you have at the end of the project, and how are you going to develop your product, and what technical risks are there in this project, and how are you going to address them. So the project plan is there for the really cool technical stuff. So those three documents you need to submit.
And if I understand correctly, this is, and we'll get to the investor part in a bit, but investors look at, let's say, an horizon of 10 years. And
Mhm.
this is looking at an horizon of the project, which can be maybe 5, maybe 10 years as well.
5 years is the max. So we
Okay.
usually see on average 3 years, but the project can be 5 years in total. So we do look at the project in its total really well. And then of course we also make an assessment for when the project is finished. What is your plan? Are you going to do an exit? Do you see yourself involved on the whole journey of your company?
Mhm.
So we assess that as well.
What if the answer is no? I don't see myself because I've talked to a number of founders who are like, okay, I can set this up for 3 years and then I need to move on because I'm simply not the person to
Yeah.
manage a going concern business.
That's fine, as long as you have a good story, and of course tell us, okay, what kind of companies do you want to exit, because that's where we're also taking a view on. So I think that's, as long as you have your story and can explain what you want to do, then that's fine, because we also understand, of course, that's the reality of a startup.
So out of curiosity, do you know what the breakdown is between female and male founders in the credit portfolio that you have?
Yes. So I think, as I said, we do not see a lot of female founders. I do not have the exact breakdown, but I can tell it's very little. And we want to see a change in that. So I think, as I said before, we hope to see a change, and hopefully people listening to this, or the women listening to this, think, okay, let's go. I will contact Merel and Bibi so that we can get maybe financing. That would be
Yeah,
great.
and if we can persuade one woman to
Exactly.
try, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I want to switch over to Merel for a minute to talk
Sure.
about seed capital. I was curious because I was in Silicon Valley last year, and well, this is of course the USA, and they're not really government minded. Let's say they want to government to keep out of as much of normal life as humanly possible. So why is it a good idea for a government to support seed capital?
Yeah, I think for us, And also for me, what is important is that there is some companies have a specific risk to them in which it's a lot of VC funds, they think it's too risky because the risk and reward is it's not a good risk and reward
Trade-off.
trade-off. So I think that's where we, with the seed capital, but also with the seed business angel scheme, come in to make sure that those companies that are too risky for a lot of VC to invest in, that we can decrease that risk with the scheme that we have. I can, of course, tell a little bit more about that. But yeah, I think that's the main goal. And also why I think it's very important for us to step in to make sure that that risk and reward is a little bit more attractive for the VC funds, but also the investors that invest in the VC fund.
Okay, so how do you change that trade-off then?
Well, we provide the VC funds with interest-free loan. I think I think there are a lot of things to it, but one is the interest-free loan that we provide, and second is the repayment schedule. Normally, of course, you would think that the repayment schedule, if we, for example, provide half of the investment budget, that we would also ask for 50% of the returns. But that's not the case. So I think our repayment schedule is very positive because there's like a certain trade-off that in the beginning, when there's like only a few, there has been a few income, but not the total investment. The investments have not been
have not matured and they haven't added an exit.
Yeah, so I think then that like the payment is 80%, 20%. So the RVO gets 20% of the incomes, and the fund gets 80%. And then till the fund fully got his return, it's divided 50-50. And when the investors get their money back, then it's again an RVO as well. Then it's again 80. So I think the repayment schedule is also very positive in that way. So I think those 2 points are like the main reason that it's very positive for a VC fund to apply.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this. I'm not a math wizard, to be honest. In the first phase, let's say in the first 3 to 5 years, of every euro I get paid back
Yes.
as a VC fund, I
Yeah.
pay 20 of that I pay back
Yeah, to the RVO.
to the
Yes.
RVO, to the extent that there is still a loan to be paid off, of course. It's
Of course.
interest free. So in the phase where there's more liquidity, then it's 50-50. When everyone has been paid off or is being paid, so the fund matures, it's 80 cents on the euro that goes to RVO.
And
And
then 20
20. Okay.
and 80 to the fund.
Okay. Okay. So, and that, of course, is only to the extent that the loan is still there.
No, I think it's not until the loan is paid off. It's like the 80-20 will continue till the end of the investment period, so 10 to 12 years. When it's finished, then of course we break ties is a little bit, but then we will make sure that the collaboration stops and then they don't have to pay back because the fund, it is a closed-end fund. I think that's important to mention, that it's a closed-end fund. So in the beginning, when the funds apply, they say like it's 10, maximum of 12 years, and then they do have the possibility to extend. But the point is that it's a closed-end fund with 10 to 12 years, and then the fund should be closed and all exits should have materialized.
Okay, cool. Now I just want to understand, see if I understood it correctly. So what kind of amounts are we talking about? Because this is pre-seed and seed stage, right?
Yes. Yes. So this it's a tender process. So we have 2 tenders this year. But this current tender there's an available budget for 45 million, which 20 million is allocated to startup funds, like general startup funds, and 25 million is like specifically for deep tech funds. Deep tech, funds investing in deep tech startups.
Yeah.
So it's 45 million, and then the maximum for each fund is 12 million. So of course we see funds apply for the full 12 million, but some apply for less than that.
Okay, and the 12 amount that I apply for is not the full fund size, I would presume.
So we provide 50% of the total investment budget.
Okay. So if I can find 12 million in terms of from investors committed,
Yes. Yeah.
do I have to show that in the bank already?
Yeah, so I think when the moment that a fund applies, there
Mhm.
are of course, you have to admit like a fund plan.
Mhm.
So yeah, including your whole plan, and then we of course we assess that fund plan. But
Mhm.
also another thing that's very important is what you said, that you can show the commitments, which
Mhm.
means of course if we provide like a 12 million loan, then in the end you need to have 12 million in commitments. But at the point that you admit your fund application, then you need 50%. You have to show us like 50% has been committed.
6 million.
Yeah.
If I ask for 12, I need to show 6 in committed
Yeah, at
deals.
the moment of application. But then when you're ranked, because it's a ranking process,
Mhm.
and if you're ranked and you get the loan, then of course you have a few months to make sure that you have the full commitments, because yeah, you need to have those before you can start, and then you have to make sure that you can supply that to us.
Okay. So we talked a bit about angel funds.
Yes. So this is seed capital
Yeah.
indeed, the seed capital scheme, and we also have the seed business angel scheme.
Okay. So how does that differ, that
Mhm.
scheme? And yeah, I have some follow-up question, but anyway.
Yeah. No, of course. So the seed capital scheme that we just discussed is really for for investment funds.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, also it's 12 million. So it normally is like a bigger fund. The seed business angel scheme is more for business angels.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's for business angels who want to pool their resources to support tech and creative startups, which means that that there's a group of business angels. There has to be like more than one. So there's a minimum of two business angels,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to invest at least 100,000 euros per person. And there's a maximum of 1 million loan per fund.
So that already answers part of my first question because I have been talking to a number of angel collectives, let's say, one of which was the Angel Initiative.
Mhm.
Then there's also Joanna Invest, which is technically not an angel investment, but it's more a fund, but it's in the individual tickets are
Mhm.
5,000 and up, I think. And for the Angel Initiative, I think it's 2,500 and up. So those would not fall into this specific bucket.
No, so it is like I think the two things that are very important is that the business angels have to commit their time, so
Yeah.
they can't just
Give money and have
no.
fun.
So exactly. So there are two things. One is the at least 100,000 per person,
Hmm.
and because we want to make sure that they are committed both with their time, but also with their financial resources.
Hmm.
So I think those are the two important criteria to apply. So indeed, 100,000 per person and a time commitment.
Okay. And does there need to be sort of what is called sweat equity involved? I commit time and my knowledge, of course. And then am I allowed as a business angel to convert this into equity in that particular startup?
So that's not really what we're looking for. Let's
Okay.
say it like that. So I think when they start applying, they will show their fund plan, and we will discuss how the scheme works. They will make a fund plan. We will
Mhm.
review it, give feedback.
Mhm.
And I think what we find very important is that they provide the help, not for free.
Mhm.
Yeah, they have to want to invest in the companies. Yeah, they have to like it. They have to
Mhm.
want to show their network, provide the network
Mhm.
possibilities. So yeah, if they already upfront, they're already thinking about sweat equity.
Mhm.
That's not really what we're looking for. I mean, maybe there are some situations where we can maybe make an exception, but I think that's not. Yeah, we're looking for that they really want to invest their time and their money.
Okay, cool. So the reason I brought up the Angel Initiative and Joanna Invest is that they invest particularly in female founders.
Yeah.
So on the seed capital and on the business angel side, how I don't think you're allowed to promote it, but how do you facilitate it that women try or that business angels try to invest in female founders?
So I think We do that maybe only at the beginning. So when they apply, I think I kind of already discussed that a little bit in the beginning. So when they apply, we really take that into account. So it's really, for example, I'm as an advisor when they get their fund plan, I make an assessment, and then also like an independent advisor committee also looks at it, and then we really take in account what kind of team there is, and if it's really inclusive, diverse. So that's the part where me and the advisory committee, we really look at it and we really take it into account. So I think, as I have experience with it, it's really something that I have a look at myself and we find very, very important.
But do you then look at the investor base that is diverse, or do you then look at the portfolio?
Both. Yeah, so it's really the investment team, the stakeholders, where they invest in. So the companies, the portfolio where they invest in. I think it's all of them. We take everything into account. And of course, it's not the only thing that we take into account, but it's really something that we really have a look at. And I think it's important that we really look at the added value of a fund, because of course we get a lot of fund plans from a lot of funds for the seed business angel scheme, but also the seed capital scheme. So we really look at what is their added value. And I think this is really something where they can really have a added value.
Yeah.
If a fund applies and they really take this into account, then it's really an extra plus.
Okay, so you take it as a plus that actually puts them higher in the ranking.
And I think it's both. We see it as a plus. First of all, we kind of not demand it, but we really want to see it. So if it's not diverse, it's also a minus. So we see it as like a base point that it's diverse, but if it's really diverse, we really see it as an added value, and then we take it into account in the ranking. It's part of the ranking.
Okay, do you then also follow this along once you've given the loan, that you actually monitor if the portfolio, if they make actually if
Mm-hmm.
they actually make the investments
Yes.
that in the
We definitely do. I think so. That's also like part of my job is at the beginning. So when they apply, to help them, but also my job is to make sure that they do investments according to their fund plan. So they make a fund plan. So it's a closed-end fund. They have a fund plan. They say what they're going to do, and then my job is to make sure with every investment that they do that it's according to their fund plan. So if they in their fund plan they say that we only invest in companies with female founders, then I take a look when they invest. Does the company actually has a female founder?
yeah.
No, then it's not according to their fund plan. Of course.
What happens then?
So that really depends on what kind of thing it is. If it's like a big deal, if their fund plan says we invest in female tech, and then they want to invest in something there's no female and no tech, then we actually decline it. But I mean,
But do you then let's say, if you, maybe I'm understanding this wrong, but do you then also over time, let's say like halfway the loan, you find out that they've done, or one of the companies has lost its female founders or pivoted to something totally different from what they initially were in, which
you mean
does
the
happen.
fund, the
No,
fund
no,
or the
no.
company they invest in?
The company that they invest in. So the
Okay.
actual fund portfolio
Yeah.
companies.
So if the fund changes, so if they have a female founder and she leaves, then it's like it's their fund. So then we talk about it and we want to hear about it why. But if it's like in the company, I think like they can't do anything about it. So when they invested, we look at it. But later on, if someone from that company leaves, we don't know. We don't look at it anymore.
Okay.
Because it's not their fault, and they when they invested, it was according to the rules.
Okay, so it's assessed up front and you do follow it, but there's no penalty if the female founder leaves.
No.
Okay. And how does this work on a fund level then? Because you said you are going to talk about it, and
So I think at the beginning they make a fund plan and they have to keep to it. So if something happens which leads to not being able to comply with their fund plan, then they have to mention it. So it's not something that we want to look after the whole time. They have to come up with that. That's also what we tell them. So they have to tell us like, okay, someone's leaving, and then of course we're going to talk about it. What happens? For example, if someone leaves, okay, then who's coming back? What are their capabilities? So we talk about it. I don't think we immediately give a penalty or something. It's just we want to be updated about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it leads to, okay, now we discussed it, they can continue, and not with the female founder, but I mean with some other things that are more serious. We don't give fines
Well,
or
female
something.
founders are quite serious business, I can tell you.
Yeah, but I mean it in a way that if they do it on purpose, like if they do something that's not according to the rules
Uh-huh.
and on purpose, yeah, they do that on purpose. So of course it's very important.
I understand what you mean. If a woman decides to leave out of her own will, then of course it's a different thing from when she's bullied out.
Yes, exactly. So of course it's important, but we're not giving a fine because someone leaves.
No, no, clear. Okay, so let's go a bit to the more institutional part of the investment discussion. So my experience is that if you have women involved in investment decisions, they tend to be more, let's say, they look more for diverse teams and they look more
Mhm.
for women. Are there women in these startups? Because they will, yeah. And they are also more willing to invest. Oh, there's a woman, 25% of the cap table is owned by a woman. Oh, then it's a company that we want to invest in, let's say. How does this work in your respective jobs, PB? Is this something that you really also?
Yeah, so I think with decision making within the innovation credit, so me and my colleague get, of course, the application first.
Mhm,
We take a view on it and write an advice. So we assess all the important things relating to this application. Then
mhm,
it goes to an advisory committee,
mhm,
which is also a group of experts out in the field,
mhm.
which consists of 4 or 5 people, currently one woman in there. So I think that's good, maybe not enough, but that's another topic.
It's a start.
It's a start, exactly.
Out
But
of
I
how
think
many members, by the way?
four or five.
Okay.
So I think it's 25%. And then we have a mandated decision maker, which is a colleague of mine. Yeah. So I think in the end, it's like a tier system. So we start, then it's the advisory committee who provides an advice, and then we have the mandated decision maker. And I think the most important part here is we make a decision as a team. So I think, of course, ultimately the mandated decision maker has the final say in it. But
That he or she signs off.
exactly. But we as a team, so it starts with us, then the advisory committee, and then the mandated decision maker signs off. But I think ultimately we all do it together. And I think that's really good within innovation credit. It feels very good to also, if I feel like, okay, this is not diverse enough, or I think this is a very strong point of the application, that we mention it and that it's also seen, for example, with the advisory committee, but also with the mandated decision maker. So I think that's good.
Yeah, okay. So basically having women there, to go back to my
Yeah, sorry.
hypothesis, leads to more visibility of
I think so,
especially
of
the
course.
female founders. How is that at your end, Merel? Do you see that this shift outcomes to, like Bibi suggested, there's more visibility for female founders, for female investors in
Mhm.
the loans that are giving to these seed funds and business angels?
To be honest, I don't really see that. That's not really. I think at our process, we only take it into account in the criteria. So it's not really. Of course, we have an advisory committee
Yeah.
with a lot of women in there,
Okay.
but that doesn't have an influence on the outcome.
Okay. What do they advise on, and what kind of advices come out?
Yeah, so it's for example, for the tender we have. So first an advisor makes the analysis, and that goes to the advisory committee,
Mm-hmm.
which, like I said, includes a lot of women, but also men. And then they share their opinion, they give a grade, and then there's a ranking. But it's based on all the criteria, and inclusivity and gender equality. It's all part of the criteria process, but it's not really. Yeah, so it's not really. I can't really answer it because it's not really
Okay.
applicable, I think, in
But
the process.
it's sort of built in though into the criteria of
Yeah.
vetting.
So it's in the. I think Like what I also mentioned in the previous questions, I think it's really built in the criteria process. So everyone, so me, the advisory commission, all look at it as part of the criteria.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the same. I mean, we are there to, of course, assess a fund or a company as a whole.
Yeah.
And there are certain criteria in which the company or the fund, yeah, it must tick that box.
Hmm.
And certain points are just a plus or a negative. And if there are too many negatives or there are a lot of pluses, then that adds to the decision. And of course, when you have a diverse team, certain things are pointed out more,
Hmm.
as exactly why diversity is very important, because you
Hmm.
bring more perspectives to the table. And I think the same with this decision making. You need diverse decision makers, because then you have all these different perspectives, and that goes from females to other backgrounds.
Yeah, there's many more aspects
Yeah,
to diversity than
exactly.
just gender. So my mission is to make inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. Um, from your perspective, what would be your advice to make that happen, Bibi?
I think it's a very important goal. I think diversity in general needs to be on everyone's top of mind. I think, as I said, or as we said, it is very important, and it has not only to do with equality, but it also has to do with it being an economic drive. And I think what we should do together is talk about it, make sure that it is on everyone's top of mind, why it is important, and what the advantages are for everyone.
Hmm.
So I think, like you do right now, just talk about it with a lot of different people and take into account all these different views, and yeah, just talk about it. I think that's very important.
Okay, cool. Merel, anything to add?
Well, I fully agree with BB. I think it requires like really systematic changes
Huh?
in funding, leadership, in culture. So we really need to increase access to capital for female-led startups. Yeah, by really prioritizing the diversity in the funding decisions and yeah, bridging the investment gap. So we really have to encourage more women to invest. Yeah, to have also investment decision making roles. I think having those roles is very important.
Hmm.
Yeah, to make sure that there's more female leadership, because we also seen that female leadership tends to invest more in, of course, female founders.
Hmm.
So I think that's that's very important.
Maybe to circle back for a minute, do you also see that in your personal working environment? That because you do have a female manager, both.
Okay, in that way.
The,
For me, I see it a lot like at the fund level
yeah.
more. So, for example, like the funds that I mentioned in the beginning, of
Uh,
course, when you have female-led funds, they invest in female founders.
mhm.
So I think that part I mainly see.
Yeah. But what do you see on your own work floor with Natasha as a manager?
I think what we see on the work floor is diversity being an important topic. And I think, as we said, it relates to like having people from all different backgrounds in our teams, but also on the decision making front. I know she finds it very important. I think that's why we are also here today. Yeah, to make sure that diversity and also entrepreneurial diversity is on everyone's top of mind. So we see it on the work floor as well. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. Sounds like a great place to close.
Yeah.
Merel, Bibi, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for a great conversation.
Yes, thank you very much.
If people want to learn more about you, connect with you, especially female founders, female investors are warmly encouraged to connect with you on LinkedIn, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
But where can they find more information about RVO, the seed capital regulation, the innovation credit application process?
Yeah, it's all on the
Yes.
website. So we have a lot of links, but yeah, it's on mainly on the website. Of course, LinkedIn, they're also posting it about it. We have a web page, but I think on the website everything is mentioned. But if they want more specific details, they can always send us an email.
Yeah, and maybe we can include it in the show notes.
And indeed, we'll include those links in the show notes, as
Perfect.
always. So,
Perfect.
Bibi van Gijzel, Merel Zimmerman, thank you very much for an amazing conversation. Really insightful. Good to
Thank you.
learn how RVO is helping female founders. Maybe not directly, maybe also directly, but also indirectly. through seed capital. And listeners, thank you very much for listening. Until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's a wrap for episode 102 of Women Disrupting Tech with Bibi van Gijzel and Merel Zimmerman on how RVO funds inclusive innovation. Merel, Bibi, and I hope that you found our conversation as insightful as we intended it to be. And special thanks to Natasha Shilachi, I hope I don't butcher this, for introducing me to these two amazing role models. I want to highlight that both Bibi and Merel would love for female founders and their investors to get in touch with them directly. Therefore, you'll find their email addresses plus links to more information about the Innovation Credit, the Seed Capital Scheme, and the Business Angel Scheme in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech, all one word, .blog. When you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please follow the show on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube. Following Women Disrupting Tech is a great zero-cost way to support Merel, Bibi, and my other guests in making inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. You can also follow Women Disrupting Tech on social media. On LinkedIn and Instagram, check out at The True Story Company, and on Substack and YouTube, you can find us as at Women Disrupting Tech. On Substack, I share more in-depth stories and behind-the-scenes insights about each episode and trends that I've identified over the past 100 plus episodes. So if you want more Women Disrupting Tech, don't forget to subscribe on Substack. Finally, if you want to connect with me, reach out via email dirkjan@womendisruptingtech.blog, but you can also reach out on Substack, of course, or on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, send me a DM after you find my name as Dirk-Jan Hupkes. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, keep being awesome.